all this information that we're
Hi
compiling
there.
together to
So, in the
prepare the
next few
country,
minutes,
not
I'm going
just
to be
Georgia's
making my
911 centers, to get
graduation
ready for the next year's
presentation
911
as a
network, which is
master's
supposed to
student
bring
in the Communication Studies
much greater
program.
911 service
I
to the
can't wait
citizens
to do
thanks to the
that.
federal
I'll
government.
talk soon.
Fantastic, Clay. Thank you so much. I mean, it's very humbling. I mean, you're working on saving lives, and to think that maybe this program and this education can help you do that even better is it's a great thing to hold on to. So thank you so much. I don't think we have Mary, so next then we'll go to Christy Moody. Christy, take it away.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for your time tonight. So I decided to speak with you about my identity project from COM 550, Qualitative Research Methods class with Dr. Bolin. My project is titled Managing Work-Life Balance as a Remote Working Mother. And I don't know about you, but during the pandemic, many people felt like there were blurred lines between work and life in this remote setting. So for full-time working moms, this provided an extra challenge with the pressure to excel in both of these roles. They tended to scale back their work hours to meet childcare and family demands over 4 times as much as fathers. So this qualitative research study was important to employers because it could show them how to support and retain these employees that may be considering leaving the workplace for family needs. So I had 3 research questions that guided my study. One was, how has working in a remote setting impacted working moms' work-life balance? 2, what communication strategies do working moms use to manage work-life expectations in a remote setting? And 3, how much support do remote working moms receive? So I used a multi-method approach to my study, and I used interviews and surveys as my forms of data collection. So first, 3 semi-structured in-depth interviews were conducted. These participants were asked 12 open-ended questions in a virtual format lasting 20 to 40 minutes each. So these participants were based on convenient sampling. They were in their 30s, married with young children under the age of 7, and lived in the Southeast. And they each had a diverse range of remote work experience. Knowing that remote working mothers are very limited in free time, and due to the pandemic, I decided to also utilize an online survey method. It was distributed nationwide through social media to working mom-related groups and communities. So Glaser-Strauss's grounded theory was used to analyze the data through constant comparison approach. Open and axial coding was then used to create and label these categories. So for research question 1, the data showed that work-life balance was impacted by 4 major themes, and these included like distractions, improved home life and flexibility, scheduling, and mom guilt. Research question 2 dealt more with strategies to manage work-life expectations. And the themes that emerged from this included like the reliance on technology and clear messaging, being accessible to their employer, creating and managing boundaries, and an increased importance on organization. And results from like the support question, research question, were focused on a lack of support from the workplace, support from family, and support from other women. So several key findings emerged from the data. Work-life balance was greatly impacted depending on if the remote working mom's children were also in the home. There were pros and cons to many aspects of the remote working mom identity, and this delicate balance generally revolved around employer support and childcare. So allowing remote working moms to feel supported and allowing flexibility in their identity could reduce employee turnover and increase employee satisfaction. And remote working moms described a heightened need for childcare, flexibility, boundary and expectation management, organization, and support. So while this wasn't necessarily groundbreaking, it did set up an opportunity for future research surrounding how intersectionality, marital status, and gender roles may fit into this identity. And it could also explore the experiences of remote working fathers and how that might differ. But yeah, thank you so much for your time tonight. And that's it.
Thank you, Christy. I was just reading the other day that even though the pandemic is sort of, entering a new phase, that there's still a significant gap in the return of women to the workforce. And so I know that this is really important research with large ranging implications. So thank you very much. And then last but not least, we have Basola Miriam Obinyan. Go ahead, Basola Miriam.
Alrighty. Hi everyone. Congratulations to us. Okay, so I'm gonna share how my research actually developed into what it is because I'm gonna be speaking to a research proposal that I'm also gonna be presenting somewhere tomorrow. So before I came here, I have been, working as a nonprofit leader. Specifically, I have a nonprofit organization in Nigeria. And through this organization, we've had a couple of sensitization campaigns where we talked about abuse and all kinds of, discrimination, specifically as it affects left-handed people in Africa. And during one of such campaigns where I was invited to speak about my lived experience as someone who has been a victim of, domestic abuse, I people called in and people were sharing their personal experiences, describing their lived experiences in different ways. And so that was my first opportunity to kind of, hear from people exactly the way they describe the experiences of domestic abuse and violence. Bear in mind that the title of my presentation is How Do African Student Victims of Domestic Abuse Describe Their Experiences to the American Counselors? Now, recall that I just shared about what happened back home in Nigeria. Now, I came to UA to do a master's in communication studies, and the same thoughts, the same idea never left me, even though I was not sure what I was going to do in the process. Along the line, I started to experience emotional abuse from someone I am working to divorce. And that was really challenging and traumatizing for me because it was beyond what I could comprehend. And so I began to receive counseling at the Women and Gender Resource Center. Somewhere along the line, another project was born in the process, and that led me to working with the Domestic Violence Law Clinic. And during this project at the law clinic, I wanted to kind of understand the ways in which the legal assistance framework available to non-native victims of domestic violence, what exactly is the legal assistance framework available to them, and how, in what way can the law clinic, provide services or resources to assist these people, especially when we think about the problematic nature of the law and the fact that sometimes if you are here and your abuser is far away, it makes it difficult for prosecution to actually take place. But that does not reduce the fact that abuse can take place with or without the physical presence of a person. Think about the way in which COVID and media is leading to a rethinking of what abuse or how much damage can be done with or without someone's physical presence. So these were the things that happened along the line, and I did a project in CI 668, which was a social justice and inclusion advocacy course. In this course, I discovered that there is really no legal assistance framework available to non-native victims in the United States in a way that actually addresses their experiences, not just any kind of experiences, especially experiences of, emotional abuse. Along the line, I then decided that I was going to actually do a full research. This didn't happen earlier on. This was an idea that was born about 1 month ago or two. And so I have titled my proposal, How Do African Student Victims of Domestic Violence Describe Their Experiences to the American Counselors? And so in this particular study, I want you to think about how someone like me who came all the way from Nigeria with personal traumatic experiences and the ones that I've had the opportunity to hear about as a social justice advocate, and how, all of these experiences have shaped me and the way in which I see abuse, differently, or what I think abuse is, if, as a matter of, a phenomenon. Now, I want to also point to emphasize why this study is actually important. I consider this study an important one because the United States continuously, experiences the influx of international students who come from different parts of the world, especially from Nigeria. And among these international students are African students like me, okay? These students who come from different parts of the world, from their host countries especially, carry with them varying degrees of traumas. And in some cases, they continue to experience these trauma even in their host communities. And so when I began to look at what has been done, I discovered that many of the studies focus largely on the experiences of African Americans, and not much has been done on the experiences of Africans, especially African students, right? Because there are different groups of people who make up Africans, even in the United States, but not much has been done to look at or examine the experiences of African student victims. And so in my study, I am looking to use a co-cultural communicative, co-cultural theory to kind of understand the communicative practices that African student victims like me use when interacting with American counselors. Because for someone like me who has been receiving counseling, I realized the different communication dynamics that played out in that interaction. And so I would also like to state why this study is important or why it matters. I, like I already mentioned, I am recovering, from the trauma associated with both intimate partner violence, specifically digital abuse, and some other forms of abuse that I've experienced even as a graduate student here from people who have been involved directly or indirectly in my relationship with my partner. And so I can talk about the ways in which these different experiences may complicate the lives of international students of African origin. And so this study is very important because we cannot separate the personal from the professional. And so for many international students who have come before me and who would come after me, it is necessary that someone takes, goes ahead and does something about this social menace so that somehow we're able to at least make it possible for the, if not the government, but of course to just kind of call policymakers attention to issues such as this. And in this proposed study, like I said already, I would be using co-cultural theory. What is the idea behind co-cultural theory? Co-cultural theory basically examines the way, so the idea, let me just make this very straightforward. When we use co-cultural theory, we're trying to understand the way in which people who have little or no societal power communicate or interact in communicative settings with people who have more privileges or have societal powers. So for me as an international student, I do not have as much power or as much access to resources as a counselor, right? So a counselor, for example, is a staff at the university. I am a student. My counselor is an American citizen. I am not a citizen of this country. And so from my personal interaction with her, I saw the way I could pay attention. I think I kind of, realized the ways in which I was being too careful around her. I was trying, a number of times I was overcompensating, and there were times that I saw myself trying to dispel stereotypes. And moving on, I have two research questions that will be driving this study. The first is, how do African student victims of domestic violence communicate their experiences to the American counselors? The second RQ or research question is, how do American counselors describe the communicative behaviors of African student victims of domestic violence when the latter describe their experiences? And so it is very important for such in a study such as this to consider ethics. And so I would be ensuring that even as I carry out the study, that I pay attention to the health and the well-being of my proposed research participants so that this study does not do them any form of harm. In terms of timeliness, I would be doing this in the next 6 months before I leave Tuscaloosa, and I'm looking to work with a sample size of 12 people. Now, one interesting thing that I think I would like to also mention, as two interesting things that I want to mention as I wrap up quickly are, one,
Yeah, maybe just one. You're a little
Okay.
bit over time. So go ahead.
Okay. So the last thing I would like to say is I would also be presenting this proposal at the Southern Eastern, conference tomorrow. And lastly, this whole idea is also led into a book project. Thank you.
Thank you, Sola Miriam. I'm so glad to hear that you're able to not only sort of present to us, but that you're also presenting to others as well, because this research really does need to be widely circulated. So thank you all so much. Let's go ahead and give everybody a round of applause one more time. This is now the 6th year of the distance learning program here at UA, and every year it gets stronger and stronger, and these presentations are a real testament to the important work that you're doing. I mean, we're talking about, these were serious topics. I was really impressed, and I know Dr. Harris was as well. And so once again, you accomplished a very hard thing, right? So take some stock in yourself and what you've achieved, be proud as we are. And also, when you kind of move out and go, I know some of you aren't like literally here at UA, but as you continue to go and do these wonderful things, please stay in touch. We'd love to hear from you. We want to know about sort of how your career is developing, and if there's anything else that we can do to help you. So thank you again so much. And Dr. Harris, anything to add before we close?
I just want to say congratulations. I was very impressed with the diversity of the presentations from government, political, educational, international, social services. But the key thing is it's about improving organizations, improving communication, improving people's lives. So the work that you're doing is very important, and I congratulate each and every one of you. And this is the type of work that we like to see in our program. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks again, everybody, for taking some time out to chat with us and present again. We'd love to hear from you in the future, and we'll talk again soon.
Good evening. Take care.
So I just finished my graduate showcase presentation and it went well. I need to go rest. Thank you.